Hello.
Big question is, are you ready?
Always
friend?
ready.
Are you
Always.
ready?
I was ready before you today.
Yeah, I know.
Good start.
That's my fault.
Give me that.
I had a driving lesson. I'm sorry. I'm still learning to drive. I'm getting to that stage in my life where I need to drive.
I'm in no position to judge because I don't drive.
You're still.
I've got my beast outside.
You've got your bike, haven't you?
Little two-wheeled beast, but it's not quite the same as a car, is it? It doesn't quite offer you protection from the elements.
I bet you got absolutely drenched today. Absolutely drenched.
I put my waterproofs on.
Yeah, that's all right.
So yeah, saw that coming. Right. Anyway, enough of that.
The general chat.
Indeed. Yeah. So episode 6. We're on a roll. God
we are.
damn it, we're on a roll. Quick apologies for the technical difficulties. For some reason, our recording app for the podcast didn't decide to do it, so I managed to rip it and put it into 2 parts. So you still can listen to it. It's still up. It might just break into 2 bits. That's all. But we will not let that happen again. I haven't put it up on YouTube yet because I've been so busy. And we'll have a recap of our weekends and weeks in a second. But I've been really busy, so I haven't had a chance to break it down, edit it, and chuck it up because it takes to put the video of this onto a full block, so it's not in 2 pieces, and then upload it is probably like a 3 to 4 hour job. So finding 3 to 4 hours this week has been non-existent. So
that's good, man. That's good.
How has your weekend been?
Yeah, not too bad actually, man. Not too bad. Doing a new little push now. So fairly busy again, which is quite cool. Trying to create some more valuable content. I think that's the main thing. I've been talking to you a few days ago, in terms of the content that other people are putting out is good, but the people that you see that are popular on Instagram, I want to try and push more of that valuable content out. So I've been trying to really focus and rack my brains of how to create some better stuff, which takes time, doesn't it? It does take time.
Don't. Like, hours and hours is spent making content. The key I find with that is just what you're passionate about is what makes the best content, that's definitely something that comes forward. Some people put absolute fucking drivel out. They really do. They put absolute crap out, but because they're passionate about it, people want to hear it. So if you can kind of have best of both worlds, where the content you're putting out is decent, but people can see you're passionate about it, that's all it really needs to be.
Just got to make sure it's...
So for me, like, I've got hundreds of videos that this is the thing, right? So you're trying to make new content. I'm going through the other process of searching through all my old stuff, re-filming it and making it crisp and modern and adding the new knowledge I've learned since I've done them up there. And you just think, and then it's finding the time and then making sure the kids aren't running around the house screaming the place down, so I can record it in silence. And it's just so that's...
The big question is, what did they go to school in Book Day today? It was World Book Day. What did they go to school as?
Well, my youngest went as a dinosaur.
No, that...
Obviously.
I like that. That's good.
In a full, camo digital dinosaur suit. So...
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And the junior school decided not to do costumes, but you had to you had to dress up a potato, like a Mr. Potato Head, had to do your favourite book character. So this morning I was gluing owl appendages to a potato because she wanted to do the owl from one of her books. So we made an owl potato.
Impressive.
Yes, indeed. But because I think it's this weird thing that's come from, where people have been stressing themselves out and getting really het up about World Book Day and building a costume and stuff. It's it really, in the end of the day, just send them in the bloody pajamas. Yeah. Most of the time, kids' pajamas are after their favourite characters. My Little Pony, Frozen. They're all books, it's a World Book Day. Half the time they just dress up as Disney characters. As a parent, I'm not going to stress myself out about freaking World Book Day. Calm your damn self down.
Yeah. Can't believe they didn't...
Hey, I was using a glue gun on a potato this morning. It don't get more creative than that.
You don't get anything more creative than that. I have to say that is creative.
It's not something It's not something I ever thought as a dad I would be doing on a Thursday morning, glue gunning glittery wings to a potato. But I've done it now. So therefore, if any of the listeners out there need advice on how to glue gun a potato, I am now the expert. So
I mean, man, that is impressive. That is impressive. Although I think it's a shame they didn't do the whole dressing up thing, because I remember when I was at school, I used to love that.
I generally don't remember World Book Day.
Do you not?
Maybe, and it may be a sign of my age, maybe we didn't have World Book Day when I was a kid, because I don't remember it. I don't remember dressing up.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe not.
Maybe not. Maybe it was
not.
something that came in a bit later.
Maybe not.
Because, I mean, how old are you?
I'm 22.
22.
So...
Is that, I'm 10 years older than you,
Yeah,
so maybe,
so...
you know, us ancient people didn't have World Book Day. I may be completely wrong. It might just been where I grew up in a really crappy area. We just didn't do World Book Day because mainly people probably couldn't read. That might be the case.
Maybe.
Let's do World Book Day. What's a book? Never mind.
What's that word?
Yeah, what? So has the rain and that over the weekend bombed out your training? How have you been fighting? Because it's been difficult, hasn't it? Getting out there and doing the miles.
Absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. The last week I got caught in hail, and it was so cold. And I put it up on my story, and I'm just there, just like no words, just have it on my story, just like
Just
this is
pelting
awful.
With hail.
And then yesterday I went out for a recovery run. And I was running along the beach, and it just tipped it down. Like, came out of nowhere, just tipped it down. I was just there running like, I can't run any faster.
By any chance,
was
this around the 3 o'clock mark?
It was actually.
Because
yeah,
I got absolutely shat on the school run. Because the girls came out, I bought them their umbrellas failed horribly, and we just got soaked.
Yeah. Not nice.
No, I've generally had enough of the weather now, like to the point where when you look at your bank balance and you go, I have friends in hot countries.
Let's just
and
go
I could
away.
fly tomorrow for a weekend, surely. And then you think, hang on a minute, now I have responsibilities. Probably should just up and leave. Obviously, so those who've been following on social media, we had Lauren's lifting qualifier for the Brits at Body Power, which she smashed, like literally nearly gave me a heart attack. Nearly gave me a goddamn heart attack. So she'd never lifted more than 110 kilos, and she only weighs 63 kilos herself, which is going to lead on to our topic for the day. And she went in, and I just said, look, just go out there and open with 100 kilos. So lift you've done 100 times, you're happy with it, you can just get a feel for it. Once she calmed down, she's 100 kilos, perfect lift, 3 lights, bam, feeling good. Right, I want to do 110. Fine, you jump to 110. It's on you now. I can only advise, but it's up to you to write down what you want to do. Did 110, came up, bam, yes, feeling good. And then she went, I want to go for the 120. I was like, do it. Just do it. Enjoy it. Whatever happens, happens. And
she's never gone for 120 before.
She's never done it before.
You said that,
no.
didn't you? Yeah,
best she's ever lifted solo is 110. 112 and a half with a bit of assistance from me. So that's a 10 kilo jump PB, and gosh, she was grinding it out, and I'm screaming like, yes, come on, pick it up, lock it out. And she did it, clonked it down, 3 white lights, mate. I just hit the roof. I roared the place down. I ran around the back of the screen. I just picked her up. Like, it was so good. But I'm sat there like, I don't think my heart can take any more of this.
Breathe.
Yeah.
Just breathe.
But and the cool thing is that she walked away just on top of the world. Like, the amount of confidence she has in herself now, and it's not arrogance either. It's not look at me, look what I can do. It's like, I genuinely never in a million years thought I was capable of doing something like this off my own volition, off of my own self-belief and believing that I had it in me to do it. And she now has that, which is amazing. And that directly links in to today's topic, which is the power of support and what actually is support, because it comes in very different bits and pieces.
Yeah.
So how I would support somebody is going to be different to how you to support somebody. How I would like support is different to how you would like support. So we're going to talk about that today and go forward. So I will open the floor to my esteemed colleague, Mr. Matt B, and go, start with yourself. So how would you like encouragement? So for you, what is encouraging for you? Like, what is it so if we take it from... just from a human being, Adam. But never mind as a PT or as somebody who's running. Like, what encourages you? What is it nice for you to sort of get pushed up?
The biggest encouragement for me, and sometimes obviously depending on how you get the best support. For me, it works where people actively are telling me, you're doing good. This is what you're doing, and it's really good. That kind of support really, really helps me. And I think it's really important that everyone does get a form of support, whether it can...
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's something that is super important, whether you have a PT or whether you have someone around you, maybe your partner or whatever. I think it's so important to have that support wherever you are. And it's not. I'm not saying that someone's gonna bum lick you. That's not what I'm trying to say. You don't want someone to be like, oh yeah, you're doing a brilliant job, when actually maybe there needs to be improvements there, or maybe you need a little bit of assistance. So I'm not telling someone to lie to you, but what I would say is it is very, very important. If you are doing a good job and people recognise that, it's so important to tell someone that.
Yeah, completely. I think to sort of elaborate on that, and you made a really good point, the best support comes from people that are honest with you.
Yeah.
And as you say, you don't want a sycophant. You don't want somebody who says you're doing great all the time when you're not. You want people to, hold you accountable for your success. But at the same time, as you say, the thing that really gets people sometimes is because one person assumes the other knows that they're proud of them, and don't say it enough anymore. That's where problems can arise sometimes. Like, it was really nice for me on the weekend to. So one side of it, but taking that, I went round I saw a lot of family on the weekend because it was my granddad's 80th birthday party. My auntie was down from California, and to hear them turn around and say, I've been following what you've been doing, really well done, man. Like it's really, and I don't see these people very often, so it was quite nice to have that validation from people that I hold in high regard. Like, my cousin won Teacher of the Year last year. Out of every teacher in England, he won Teacher of the Year, and that's amazing. Like that's harder than what I do, by far. Like, without a doubt. But, I said to him, I was like, mate, that's absolutely incredible. Like, I'm so proud of you. Well done for smashing it. Because he worked really hard to get where he is, and he really genuinely cares about his kids that he teaches, and that's why. But he said, man, look at you. Same thing. Like, and, my granddad's like, oh, well done and everything you've been doing. My dad said it. My brother said it. Sometimes you do just need to have, even it doesn't happen very often, but just, as you say, just having someone going, you know what? Just watching you from the shadows and stuff, like, you're absolutely killing it, dude. Like, keep it going. But I think for me, one of the biggest supports that that I like. I mean, I like being told. I really do like being told. Like, who doesn't? But I think as well, it's sometimes supporting somebody is letting them get on with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And not constantly meddling and putting your 2 cents in as well. And we can elaborate on a few things, but the biggest support for me, strangely enough, wasn't from what anybody said, but it was the actions of Lauren. Was a massive support for me, because it was validation that it works, that it's happened again. Like, obviously I took Diane last year, and it could have been a fluke. It could have been a fluke. It could have just been that we were lucky enough that the sequence of events and the fate shined upon us and did. But it's been proven that my methods work again, and they will work again with Karen, because I know now that what I'm doing works, because it's not necessarily about the training, because it is. And my techniques work, and because I'm very diligent with form, and I'm trying to, I always break things down. But it was knowing that the way I support other people gets me the results that makes me know that it's almost like the actions were a support for myself. By validation that it works was a massive support for me, and it really helped me because, as you say, as trainers, we're under the spotlight all the time, and we put ourselves under a microscope, or at least some of us do, some of us don't. And I think those of us, the good ones do, the good ones that last. And you've not been a PT for as long as I have, but you've been doing this for the same amount of time as me, really, for about 6 years at least. You obviously you qualified a little bit later, but you were still part of the journey, still trying to learn your skill set. And for 6 years, like, everything you do, you go over with a fine-tooth comb and a microscope, and it's really easy sometimes to overanalyze yourself and pick everything apart to the point you think, God, none of this is any good. But to have the proof in your method work for a second time is massive. Like, when, it was almost the same. In fact, it was the same for you when you ran that marathon and you tweaked all of your training and you ran that second marathon 3 weeks apart with the exact same time. And then on your third marathon, with the tweaks you'd made and your training, you'd shaved time off. That just completely validated what you were doing was working, and because it could have easily not.
I mean,
I know it's easy to say, "Oh, you're a runner and you're a trainer and stuff like that," but it doesn't matter, because me and Gary were talking about it today. Just because logic dictates that because you could do something before, you can do it again, it never works like that. It never does, and it is down to the practice and the hard work that you put into refining your processes that actually validate what you're doing, and that is a massive support for us to know that what we're doing actually is supporting us back by making it work. So yeah, it was a big thing. But so how do you support others? Because that's an important one, because we all know individually like what we would like for support. Like, we know that, right? So you know, the question was just to kind of get the ball rolling. Like, anybody who's listening, you already know what you like for support. And the key thing here is to actually communicate that with people. If you like to be told every now and then that you're doing a good job and well done, you have to tell people that, because some people will forget. Not because they don't want to tell you, but they just assume you know. So if it's something that you feel like you haven't heard in a while, just ask, you know, and just say something. There's no shame in saying to somebody like, I feel like I need a bit of support right now. And people say, well, what do you need? So, you know what, just tell me I'm doing a good job so I know that you feel that way. And people will obviously be sincere and they'll tell you. How do you support others?
It's hard, because you've got to identify how that person works, and I think that's a big part of our job, because some people will react very, very differently according to who you have. So some people might think, oh yeah, that's really good, that's going to really encourage me. For some people, they will, not from fault but for their confidence, they will say, oh well, this, or they'll make a, should we say in brackets, an excuse to why they're not doing well, because they maybe don't like taking compliments, or they find it hard to take on the compliment, or like I just said, they don't have that confidence to be able to say, you know what, I am doing well myself. And you've got to try and reinforce them as much as you possibly can, and try and find a way that works for them. And then there are people that don't need any. You know, there are people that don't need, obviously they need support in terms of you know, their training, in terms of maybe a mindset, goal setting, that kind of thing. But for some people, they're very, very good at supporting themselves. You know, you give them little, and they take a lot away from what you've given them with little support from you.
They are ideal.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
No, ideal's the wrong word. They're the easiest ones to get the most out of, but they're not necessarily. I mean, for me, they're not my demographic. It's one of those things. Like, every now and then, like, as they get better, as I've worked with them for longer, they get better at it. But in the beginning, like, everything is just, well, I'm just crap. It's like, you're not. But yeah, I see what you mean. Some people just, no matter how, like, and do you not find, strange enough, it's not necessarily clients, it's your other halves that are the worst at taking compliments from you. Like, yeah, it's just, you know, like, I wouldn't have said it if I didn't mean it. Like, I'm quite very happy to sit here and say nothing at the same time. So, you know, yeah, it's just, you just think, God, Jesus Christ.
It's difficult, isn't it?
I won't bother next time.
It is difficult.
For me, what I found that works, obviously, from a behavioural therapy point of view, because I was, you know, I'm psychoanalyzing every client I have, which is great and not so great, is that I've found that you're not there to help them as such. So my competitive lifters, I'm not there to help them lift the object up, because that's effectively me doing it with them. I'm there to assist them by giving them the tools to make the lift and encouraging the things that they're good at, whilst pointing out the things that need changing. It's not a case of you're doing that wrong. It's you haven't managed that, but this is why. I think the more, for me, the support comes in by telling them that they've got the means to do it themselves. It's just empowering all the time.
And that's the thing. So big word there.
Yeah, the on the 120 kilo lift that Lauren did, I said the same thing to Diane when she did her final lift. Put my hands on her shoulders, and I said, "You've earned your right to be here. Everything you do now is for fun. Go out and enjoy it."
Yeah.
That was it. That's all I said. I was like, "You've earned this. I'm so proud of you, and you should be so proud of yourself for what you've done today. Just go out and enjoy it." And she went out there and she absolutely smashed it.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of it is telling them that they deserve to be here, because you doubt yourself up to the very end. Like, I don't deserve to be here. I haven't done this. And what else? And you're like, actually, no, like, you have, like, the moment you decided that this is what you wanted to do, you deserve to be here. And it's always that, it's just that positive reinforcement all the time. You know, it's like, for a lot of people, as you said, they make excuses why they're not doing things. And, you know, when like, as trainers, the biggest question we tend to ask is, why didn't that go right?
Yeah.
Or how come you did that? What was going on in your head when that happened? And the big thing is to try and throw back an answer. It's like, your job isn't to find the answer. Your job is just to tell me what was going on. Like, it felt like my foot was slipping. It felt like my bum was sliding back. I felt like I was losing balance. You don't have to tell me why you lost balance. I can tell you that. But it's also having the encouragement to just, and again, the empowerment and being told that whatever you're feeling is okay. Whatever feedback you want to give is okay. And from that is where the support builds. And just telling people they've got it, I think, isn't it, sometimes? You say, like, sometimes just by going, it's right, you got it. Or the other side of things is if it goes wrong, letting them know it's not the end of the world, we'll come back.
Identifying, and I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's identifying what is good for them. You know, what is gonna really assist them on their journey, because that's what it is. It is a journey, you know. And like we said, you know, sometimes they don't need you to cuddle them. They just need you to say, okay, so what do you think went wrong there, or what do you think was the reason why this didn't work? And they can normally identify it themselves, but then you're supporting them on that field, aren't they? You know, you're telling them, okay, something's wrong, but I want you to identify it.
Right, and I think it comes, as you say, and the support you give evolves the longer you've been training with somebody.
Yeah.
Like, there are some people that need to have a meltdown and be consoled because there's a lot going on in their heads, especially with Michael, there's a lot going on in their heads. Failure has always been met with judgment and bad retribution and things like that, and it's like, okay, that's fine, have your moment, because you need to know that it's okay to have it, and we're just going to go back and carry on. The further down the line you go, I have at times gone, what the fuck are you doing, stand over there, suck it up, or you're going to sit over there and whinge in the corner, you're going to come and carry on. Like, no, we're past this now. You are better than this mope you're having. Let's fix the problem. And that is just as supportive.
Absolutely.
As you said, like, sometimes being hard is somebody who's being honest with somebody, and being the best support you can give somebody is be honest with them. Not be an asshole about it, obviously, and just dig people out, but you have to be honest, because you are not supporting somebody if you are not telling them when they're screwing up.
Yeah.
Because you are allowing them to keep going. To basically, it's like knowing there's a waterfall and sending somebody out in a boat and not telling them.
Yeah.
Whereas turning around and saying, you are happy to play in the boat, but be aware of the waterfall, be aware of the edge, be aware of the bad path you don't want to go down. Don't go down the left side of the stream because you're going to fall off the edge. You are not a good friend if you just go, oh yeah, you're fine to go do that. Like, you know, when people have said, I want to do this, you can do that. Of course you can do that. But it might not be in the timescale you want. And it's a hard pill to swallow, because people in the beginning won't take that as being supportive. That's saying, you telling me I can't do it. I haven't said that. Or no, what we're saying is, like, yes, of course you can achieve that, but you have to be realistic with your time. And then once you can drive in that you're realistic with your time, if you're realistic with your time, then you're more likely to succeed, which means you're going to take the support. But it's hard, isn't it, when people, for instance, haven't had much support and have always been told they can't do something. And the other side is when you tell somebody they can do something, why not? That's huge. Like, even just by, as you say, just by the simplest thing of going, yeah, we can give it a go.
Yeah.
What do you mean we can give it a go? Give it a go. See what happens. I mean, I can't tell you the answer whether it's going to work or not, but we can sure as hell try.
Yeah.
They've never heard that before. That's like the biggest thing in the world to somebody being going, like, you mean I'm all right to try? Yeah, well, you ain't going to know if you're not going to know if you don't try.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is a tricky one. Like, and I think the issue as well from a stereotypical PT point of view is that we're all that drill sergeant. You know, we're that, muscle bound drill sergeant. Suck it up, give me one more. Bah, bah, bah. And it's like, actually, most of the time, no. Like, I don't know a single PT. Well, I do know one PT who's like that. And it works for a very small amount of people. And the trouble is, they're usually the loudest ones in the arena of, if you were to put every PT in the world in a room, all the narcissistic arseholes would be the ones you notice, because they'd be the ones shouting at people and going mad. You're like, well, actually, that's a very small percentage, but they make the loudest noise. And that's what people think. So when they come to seeing a personal trainer, I've actually had someone go, you're not going to shout at me, I can't be dealing with people shouting at me. I'm like, why on earth would I shout at you? Like, why, unless, but then some people are like, you're going to have to be tough with me. I need you to be tough with me And I said, I've had shouting matches with people in the middle of the gym.
Really?
Yeah. One client of mine had a full-on hissy fit in the gym I worked at in Portsmouth, and I just was like, I was having none of it because we were doing a lap pull down, and it was getting difficult, but her form wasn't breaking, and she was fine.
Yeah.
But it was hard, and because it gets hard, you don't want to do it because you feel that you might not be able to do it. In that case, you failed. And I was like, no, come on, give me one more. Oh, I'm not doing it. Give me one more. You're making me do things I can't do. And I said, I'm not making you do things you can't do, because if you couldn't do it, I'd stop you.
Yeah.
And I was like, who wants to lose X amount of weight by Christmas? It's not me, it's you. So suck it up and grab that bar and do one more. And she was like, everybody's looking at you. And I'm like, well, if they want to book in a session, they can go down to reception and book one in. I was like, no, I'm not having it. And then we had a session like the next day, and we had, we were doing something, and then I took the bar off her. I went, no, stop. She went, what? I said, no, your form was breaking. I didn't want you to hurt yourself. And then, I had that light bulb, and it was like, oh, so, if I can't do it, you're going to tell me? Yes. Just because it's hard doesn't mean you can't do it.
Yeah.
That's something you've bred into yourself, because it's easier to quit when it gets hard than push through and maybe fail or maybe not, because you know that if you stop, you don't have to go through with that. But yeah, I've been that stereotypical shouty person, but that's because I understood that's what that person needed. But yeah, like you'd be surprised. I mean, I don't know whether I'm sure you've had it when people are like, please don't shout at me. Like I'm not gonna. I mean, you've had some clients, whether they're studio clients or not, that I swear to God, I would have lost my shit with them a long time ago. Like there's being supportive, and there's like, do you actually want to do anything when you're here today?
Yeah, I think over the last few years, I have definitely learnt how to support people. When I first started, especially over the last few years, and only in the last, I'd say, year, that I've really started to understand it. For some people, the way that I used to train them maybe didn't work, and sometimes you've got to take that on yourself. I look back sometimes, maybe the more immature trainer that I was back then maybe didn't support them as well as I maybe could have, which obviously does lead to conflict sometimes with which I had with some of my clients. But I think now you look at it in more of a I suppose out of body. Does that make sense? So you look at it more of like a third bird's eye view, as you could say, and kind of learn how that person works. I find it a lot easier to kind of sympathise with people now, and I'm able to, hopefully train them a lot better than I have before. But yeah, I mean, I have had people that I've had to be quite firm with, but I've also had people that are incredible people.
Yeah. But you're right. But then everybody has to learn on their feet when they first start.
That's the thing, isn't it?
And it's tough. As I say, it's interesting because we started at very different points in our lives in this industry. Like you are, and I mean this with all due respect, you are the 18-year-old PT that their first
just turned
18,
well.
Qualified on the gym floor. Your battle to motivate people, and this is the other thing about supporting people as well, is you've got to allow people to support you.
Yeah.
Like you were different because the members knew who you were, which was fine. And this is like, so if there's any other PTs that we might be lucky enough to have listen, you have to understand that if you're 18 years old and trying to give somebody support who is much older than you,
doesn't work.
It doesn't work. It's not because you're a bad trainer, and it's not because you don't know what you're talking about, but at the same time, you don't know what you're talking about. You are 18 years old. You couldn't, unless you're like, you've lived the worst possible life, which again, people aren't even going to realise, they're only going to take it on face value. You probably don't have kids. You probably haven't had to work 3 or 4 jobs to keep yourself afloat, which is why you got in the situation where you needed a trainer. So for an 18-year-old, and this isn't you, because obviously I've watched your journey the whole way through. You've always been pretty good with people anyway. But it's hard for younger people to support older people in that sense, because there is that whole, what the hell do you know?
Authority.
Yes.
That's the one big thing.
Which is
it's
where
the authority.
Which is where I never had a problem per se, because I came into this industry, qualified at 25. I had 2 kids. I was working 3 jobs at the time. You know, people just knew. So when I'm dealing with somebody, you know, who's 35, 40, 50, 80, like some of my clients are, when I turn around and say, look, I get it, but I need you to get this done, or like, no, look, you know what, it's fine. It's okay to do this. It's okay. Like the ladies on my challenge at the moment are a perfect example. When I tell them, look, it's okay if you screwed it up.
Yeah.
It's okay as long as you got something right. It's not a problem. But because they know that I've been there, it doesn't sound false. And as much as you could say the same thing, and it wouldn't be false, you'd be welding right because it's true. They're gonna be like, yeah, well, it's all well and good you saying that, but is it? Are you just saying that? But it's like it's hard because support also has to come with some validation with some people, isn't it? It's like if somebody you know, for instance, has never worked a day in their life, and they're like, yeah, man, well done, man. That's a solid work ethic you got there. And in part of you's going to think, what the fuck do you know about work ethic? Like, in the nicest possible way, right, thank you for that. But at the same time, like, you know, you've been sat in your ass all day playing computer games and stuffing your mouth full of crisps. Don't tell me I've done a good job because, you know.
You haven't, yeah. I mean, it's hard because and I know I've spoken about this in a previous podcast, but I think to be able to give someone the maximal amount of support, I think you've got to be there yourself. You know, like you said, you were there with the weight loss journey. Gary's been there with the weight loss journey. Muscle, you know, building muscle. You've been there with building muscle. Gary's been there with building muscle. Everyone else has been there building with muscle. And I think to be able to give the person the biggest amount of support, you've got to you've got to have had that same kind of experience as what they're going through, to give them the best possible support that you can, because you understand where they're coming from, you understand their thoughts, you understand their feelings, you understand what's going on in their head, you know how it feels. You know, I think being there is probably a really I
think it's important. I don't think it's the only way to give good support.
Because, yeah, absolutely.
Because if you think about it, my demographic is women. I'm not a woman.
No.
So I have no idea what it is like to have endometriosis. I don't know what it's like to have PCOS. I don't know what it's like to have the psychological issues that come with severe period issues and stuff. But I have lived with that because my mum had those issues to a very severe extent. I've always been surrounded by women, so I've always been able to communicate with it. So I think the best way to give support, taking on what you thought, it's not necessarily having done it, it's just taking the time to understand it gives you the best support. There's no point in me training women without reading up on all these issues. Now, yes, I'm lucky that I lived with somebody that I watched go through it all, so I'm very well aware of what happens, and because of my training in behavioural therapy and everything else, and doing research into these things, so I've always popped up with it. It's helped me. I've had that passion to learn about it, which I think. But then sometimes you can know nothing about somebody, but supporting them is giving them a hug.
Yeah, I'm the best at hugs.
So it's like I don't agree that the way to give the best support is to have been there and done it. I think it really helps, but I think the best way to give support is to have tried your very best to understand it, because then people understand it's sincere. Yeah. That's the difference. I think the best support has to be sincere. There's no point saying something with a hollow, body to it, because people will understand it. It's, going out there and telling somebody, oh, well done, yeah, you're doing a great job. Well, no, that's all right, don't worry about it. Everybody messes up.
Half-hearted.
Yeah, it's half-hearted and it's not sincere. You can tell that you know you should say it, but you don't necessarily mean it. And I think any support that's going to really change and help somebody is stuff that you mean. Whether it be harsh, whether it be the truth, whether it be heartfelt, whether it be logical or whatever it is, as long as you genuinely mean it, people will take it on board and they'll appreciate it. I think the trouble is there's so many people giving support that is so laissez-faire, so, hollow. And social media, I think, has warped that a little bit. It's very hard for people to tell when support's being genuine anymore. Because it is so, on social media, it's like support's everywhere, but then it's actually nowhere because it's all well and good going, oh yeah, great job. Yeah. Emoji. Fucking emoji support. Like, what the hell is that?
Emoji,
yeah. Fire. I mean, it's interesting because women have really come a long way with it. I mean, like, God, women supporting women on the internet is like ridiculous. Yeah. Every post, oh my God, girl, Jesus, wow, fire, beaut, wifey, all that kind of stuff. Men don't tend to do that.
No.
Although the way men do that, which is what me and Gary were laughing about the other day, where women are like, oh my God, I would marry you in the next second or that. The way guys do is going, mate, you made that look easy. Stop it. No, you make it look easy. Every lift you do is easy. Like that's kind of our way of doing it. But the trouble is, you can also get bombarded with support, so it's very hard to tell when it's actually genuine or not. It's the same thing. I think you have to measure it as well. Support should be given when it's needed, not just because you can.
Yeah.
It's like being a huggy person is great till it becomes smothering.
Yeah.
For instance. Like, could be a bad analogy, but you know what I mean? Giving somebody a hug it's like the thing with encouragement, isn't it? If you give somebody amazing feedback at the end of every session, like amazing feedback, you desensitize to it.
Yeah.
If you're real at the end and you assess and you go, okay, you did some really good stuff, but we need to work on this. But this was what you did that was really well. You give them that. Yes, you did really well here, but we can improve on here. That's being truly supportive. Going, you know what? It was really good on the one hand, but there are things we need to tidy up, but I'm going to help you tidy them up. If it's everything, oh, great session. Brilliant session. Time, fantastic session. See you next week. See you tomorrow. Great times. After all, people are going to think, am I actually learning? Am I doing anything? Because all I seem to be getting is all this support, and you desensitize to it. So it is a really interesting game. And I think that's where people back off a lot sometimes, and especially in family units, I think is the bigger part. Because for trainers and stuff, because we see people maybe twice a week, it's very easy to go, yeah, I did a really good job today. Yeah. Amazing stuff. See you tomorrow. See you next week. See you 2 days time. Coming home, and I've been guilty of it in that before. Oh yeah, well done, great job. And you mean it, and you mean it though. You mean it like that, but it's like that person to you does a great job so often
that you don't.
That it's almost like to say it seems like it's just a throwaway comment. It's like when people use "I love you" too much. It can almost stop meaning that because it's almost like it's expected that you're going to say it. Now that's not a bad thing. So I think me being me as a huge advocate, there needs to be more peace and love and hugs out there. But as you say, you got to learn the person. I think, haven't you? Like if somebody needs that reinforcement all the time, that's great in the beginning. But also at the same time, you have to identify that maybe that person needs to get a little bit of help because they seem to be needing positive reinforcement like all the damn time, and they don't believe in themselves enough to know that they've got this, which is the biggest thing I think I've been working on with my powerlifting women and with all the women, like even the women on the challenge. I have good anything ranging from 20 minutes to nearly an hour conversations with these women on my challenges. They're not even online PT clients. They're just women that have decided to sign up to the challenge with the potential to maybe be clients. And it's like, look, the whole point of everything that we do as trainers is to empower you to believe in yourself.
Yeah.
And then when you have self-belief, you are able to encourage yourself and you're able to do that. But that's a really important skill that not just trainers have, but certain people around you have. Like as a parent, my job is to empower my little girls and give them the belief in themselves that they can do anything they want as long as they work hard. It's not like, oh, you could be anything you want. End sentence. You can, but you've got to work hard at it. Yeah. And there are some things you're going to be naturally better at than others. But, it works across the board. Parents should encourage their kids, trainers should encourage their clients, friends should encourage their friends. And it was an interesting thing that came up with that psychologist that I listened to and study on. And he was saying, like, what do you do when the elderly get old? And, you can convey it to anybody. It's like, you shouldn't help them live because that becomes patronizing.
Yeah.
You assist them in the things they can't do, and you encourage the things that they can do. And I think it's no different as PTs as what we do with our clients. If your client can squat, you don't need to assist them in a squat. You encourage them to do more of it.
Yeah.
Let's go heavier, get a bit deeper, push it a bit harder.
Yeah.
If they find it difficult to squat, you then assist them with the things that they can't do, because they're not completely feeble. They're not completely unable to do things. And if you're constantly showing them, you're constantly spotting them, and you're constantly like giving them the easy way out, you're not actually supporting them. You're not pushing them to do more. You're just taking the weight out from underneath them and going, oh no, I'll do it all for you. And that's the wrong type of support. You may think you're being supported, but you're not. And I think that's where people, and a lot of he was saying like that's where a lot of old people fall into decline, because where you are helping them too much, they're not retaining the things they can do, because you're taking it all away from them.
Yeah, I agree.
It's no different than anything else, isn't it? When it's like with automation, isn't it? Like I'm struggling at the moment work-wise, because where I'm so used to grafting and working hard and putting all these hours in, as I'm refining my processes down, I don't need to do that anymore.
Yeah.
And it's a real struggle, and it happens along with everything. If you support somebody too much, you become complacent and you just forget and you just stop. And at some point that becomes bad. Whereas if you're just saying, well, you've got that, I'm just going to help you with the bit that you're struggling with, but I'm just going to assist you to keep the independence up, then I think that's a better way of supporting people. Like just using that model. I mean, obviously, old people and relatives and stuff is different, but if you convert that over to anybody the best way to support somebody isn't to do the work for them or help them like in everything they do. It's going like, well, you've got that. Telling somebody that you've got that is huge. Like, well, you can do that. That's what I say to my kids. You can do it. Like, you can do it. Not you haven't done it
for them,
but you can do it. Like, if I'm always going to do it for you, you're not going to learn. If I'm always going to do it for you, I'm not supporting you. I'm not doing my job to help you grow and move forward and become more competent, more confident in what you're doing, because I'm doing it all for you.
Yeah.
Like, you have to push people to the zone where they're very uncomfortable, and it's maybe just a little bit harder than what they can do, because they have to learn to move into that space. Then keep doing it for them, because then they don't learn and they just expect you to do it.
Yeah, and it comes back to obviously that how much support you can give someone, isn't it? Like we were saying earlier, it does come back to how much support you can give to one person to the next person, because if you know that they can do it but they're saying they can't do it, encouraging them to do it is going to be incredibly powerful for them, incredibly powerful for them. Let's change it up a little bit.
Ooh.
Let's talk, because for me it helped me a hell of a lot, and I'm sure it helped Lauren when she was doing her deadlifts on the weekend. Now, the support of crowds, the support of people around you, especially in events. Now, when I did my was it first or second? I think it was my first marathon. I really struggled. Really. So it would have been my first one. So I really struggled.
Yeah.
So,
after that, I pissed all the way through the rest of the
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
No, they'll still as hard, but because obviously when you get up to the high miles, it's such grey matter. You've never done those kind of miles before, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So you're just thinking, what the bloody hell is happening to my body? And I've said this to you many times. I started crying on my mile 17 not because I was upset or because I was in pain, but just the pure mental strength that I was having to push through to get myself going.
I can well imagine. I just like, to have that kind of mental endurance. I mean, I think you say you've all been so pushed to the limit that all you can do is cry. And I'm guessing that's where you've got to the point where you just think, I don't know how I'm still doing this, and I don't want to do it, but I know I have to, and you just have to
pretty much.
You gotta let it out.
Pretty much, and getting to that point and feeling the way that I did, having the crowd around me was incredibly valuable. I didn't even know these people. I never met these people, and I never will meet these people ever again. But the people that are screaming your name, because obviously you had it on your little number.
Yeah.
People screaming your name, go on, you can do it, and people encouraging you to carry on. There was loads of support, especially through the through the city, because it was in Brighton, obviously through the city and stuff like that. There was loads of encouragement, and that really helps you to push forward, especially when you're at those later miles. And I'm sure Lauren got it the exact same thing. Like you said, she'd never lifted 120 kilos before she actually went to that event. But the whole event, the feel of that event, the support of the people, the support of you, the support of everything that was happening, made her lift that, you know. Apart from all the training that she'd done, which is incredible, with all the training that she's done, she lifted a weight in front of how many people? 50 people, would you say? 60 people? How many people were there?
You think competitors, maybe just over 100 people, which is massive. It doesn't sound like much, does it? But when you've never lifted anything in front of anybody more than your trainer, and you increase that literally 100 times, and you're right, like you are so right, because she was really nervous before she went in. We walked on the way in the day before. We met Shane, the guy that was running it. Never very friendly. She weighed in, and and that was that. And then in the morning we went in, and we got in as the squat flight was finishing.
Okay.
Because we went on our breakfast service. We didn't have to be in until later in the day. There's no sort of bad decorum if you don't turn up to watch everybody. And she walked in. Everybody's there. And the one thing that put her at ease with the first thing was a guy didn't get a squat. And everyone just went, oh. And he racked up. Cheers. Went round, carried on again. She goes, it sounds really off, but it makes me feel a lot better knowing that people aren't judged when they miss. I said, somebody's going to fail something today. You won't be the first person, because you're in the last fight. People are going to fail as you go through. But the really cool thing is two of the women that were competing are based at that gym.
Right.
They were at Body Power last year. Mm-hmm. She holds a couple of records. Her daughter is 16 years old and is ridiculous and has smashed every junior record there is. And they took the time to talk to Lauren.
Did they? No.
Yeah, I mean, some of it was a bit, my daughter does this and a bit like that. But even still, like that comes with the territory. But that's just proud parenting, it is what it is. But the first thing they said was just enjoy it. And they were really, again, that encouragement. These people are strangers. Mm. And they're all, we're all competing to do the best they can. I said, the thing is, like, everybody here wants you to do well. And it's all well and good saying that to someone. Like, if I said to you before you've done a marathon, everyone in the crowd is going to be, like, absolutely, their heart's going to break for you if they see you fail. And you're like, I don't even know these people.
Yeah.
And then you get there and you realise that everybody there is there to marvel at the work. And the thing is as well, they're not even cheering what you're doing on the day. They're cheering the amount of time and effort you put in to get to there. And that's a massive
The dedication is absolutely massive. And people really do latch onto that. People do really latch onto that kind of feel that you've been working for 6 months. You've been grinding it every single week, getting out there, For many of those months through the winter, because I started in September, many of those months I was running down Chichester Road and the wind in the rain is driving in my face, and I'm doing 16 miles of just this long straight with
having had to cycle that day in, day out for 6 months straight on 4 hours sleep when my daughter was first born. I feel your pain, because the wind down that road is always against you.
Yeah, it is.
No matter what direction you come in, it just knows that you're going to move in that direction, and it's like hits you in the face. I mean, I've been cycling and come to a complete standstill where the wind has hit me that hard.
Yeah.
You're like, it's 6 a.m. Why?
Yeah. Absolutely. But people know that dedication that you've given to that event, whether it be powerlifting or whatever it may be. They know the dedication that you put into that. They know what
as you say, that's hugely important, because if you like when you cheer in the Olympics, you as you say, you're half an it's almost 3/4. You're a quarter cheering what they're doing on the day, but the other 3/4 of that cheer is knowing what they put themselves through to get there. Because, and it is that thing, isn't it? It's like they're willing to do what you're not.
Yeah.
Like, I would cheer the arse off you because you are so willing to go out and do those things that I'm not willing to do.
Yeah.
But then it'd be no different if I competed in something. People would cheer me because they know I'm willing to do the things that they're not willing to do. And as you say, that's a really important thing, because they're actually supporting your journey. They're not supporting the end result. They're supporting the hours that you put in to get to there, and it's reflected on the dedication on your face, on the grinding, and people. Funny thing is, people cheer more in powerlifting, and I know they do. It's very much the same in running. People cheer more when they watch you fail. Their heart breaks a little bit, because they watch you bare your soul on that platform. You've gone and chosen a weight. Most people don't know that. I mean, usually as a rule, you go. Your first lift is to sort of set yourself in and make sure that the judges know you can do what you're doing. And they don't have to work so hard at judging you. Like if you go and you make an okay lift on the first one and watch you like a hawk. If you go and do a solid opening lift, right? Okay, this person knows their shit. The next ones are just going to be for lifting. Second lift is to qualify or do what you need to do. Third lift is for the glory, for the gods, right? People don't know that.
No.
People just assume that you've come out to lift a weight and you need to lift that weight.
Yeah.
And when you don't lift that weight, I have seen literal, oh God, like people drop their heads in their hands and people get emotional when they see this person grinding and their face going red and their legs shaking because they're trying to get that squat up. They're trying to break that bar off the floor. And they don't make it. And you just see a little bit of everyone's heart breaks, or at the same time when they make the lift and everyone just starts going wild because they've seen that like there in front of them, they see that grind. It's like when you were running, and if people had seen you crying because the amount of effort it was putting you through, people's hearts are going to break because they in that moment they are with you.
Don't really remember much of it, I have to say.
I had too many tears in my eyes. But
Don't remember much of
and
that.
people are there with you, and they do, and that's why as well we support football teams. That's why we support any team, because it's that thing, you want to get behind people. People need people to support them. We want to support people. We do. We can't help it. For all of our baser flaws and the problems that we have as a human race, we naturally want to support people that want to get behind.
Yeah.
You may not support something else, which is where the problem arises and where people do support different things. But if that's what you support, you are doing that as a collective. You're trying to send energy. You're trying to send that support to that person. Every cheer, every whistle could be what takes you to the next step.
Yeah.
You know, it was something simple, like when we did the £1 million challenge, and you get to your last 10 reps, and people are counting down for you, and you just want to break. Or when people are coming in throughout the day and going, "Mate, well done!" Like, God, that is just so hard. And you sat there, but you can't feel your body anymore.
Yeah.
But you get to hour 7 of 11 and you've been lifting constantly for 7 hours and nothing feels like it belongs to you anymore.
Yeah.
So I remember Gary walking in and he's filming me and he goes, how much have you lifted now? And I'm like, I don't know, something like 200,000 kilos by this point. And I've still got 7,500 kilos left to move. And you're just going through the motions and it just takes someone going, phenomenal work. I'm so impressed with what you're doing. And you feel a little bit. That gives a little bit of energy. And you think, you know what, thank you. I needed that. Like every cheer is a little thank you. Every cheer, you want to say thank you to that person. Like if you could go back and, every single person that cheered, you'd shake their hand and be like, what,
absolutely.
Thank you so much for just giving me a little bit of that energy because I damn well needed it.
At the time, you don't really think about it though, do you? Like,
oh God, no.
There was in the last 3 miles of Brighton Marathon, they had posters that were saying, "Oh, just a park run left to do," and obviously cheering your name, cheering your name and cheering everything. And I remember looking around are you kidding me? I've still got to run 3 miles. This is going to take me another half an hour worth of running.
Yeah.
And you're telling me I've done, but. They're trying to encourage you. They're trying to inspire you, thinking, "Oh yeah, you've only got 3 miles to go, only a park run left," and you're thinking at the time, I'm thinking, "No, stop it." But yeah, now looking back on that, you're thinking, yeah, actually, they probably said that for a reason, and they're trying to inspire you and encourage you. But at the time, I was like, that's such a stupid thing to say.
I don't want to hear how many miles I got left. I'm aware, thanks.
So it was, it was difficult. It was difficult, but I think the support of people around you and the support of people that you don't even know is so empowering. I think that's the one big thing and the one big word you can take away from it. It is so empowering to hear other people cheering your name that don't even know you, you know?
Mm.
I mean, people that do know you cheering you on is incredible, but
Yeah.
people saying your name that you don't even know, they're taking the time out of their day to look on your little thing and say, that guy's name's Will. I'm going to say, well done, Will, good job, mate.
Yeah.
You know, that's even more empowering, I think.
Yeah, completely. So to wrap it up,
God, we're now 50.
I know, it's just waiting for it. I think the biggest thing is for as an individual, learn what you need as support. Because if you don't know what you need to support you, it's very difficult to get others to help you do that. And as a global, as our message of kumbaya and peace and love, just give support to people where you see it. You know what? We get it. We're really good in this gym for it. Is walking past somebody and just give them a nod. Oh, nice one.
Yeah.
Oh, good lift, man. Spotting for somebody. Can you give us? Yeah, of course I can.
Yeah.
You've then, like, they've asked you to enter their world for a second. You enter it. So you know what? If you ever feel funny about support, giving somebody a nod or saying, "Oh, well, good stuff," it's never a bad thing, because that could be the difference that makes someone's day. Knowing that they've been grinding out all day, they've had a really crap workout, and you go, "Man, that looked really good." And you know what? That could just be the turning point they needed to go, "Actually, okay, maybe it wasn't a bad day."
Yeah.
So, Will, where can they find you? Where can we find you, Will?
They can find me on Instagram, Mapley_the Run Coach, and also on my Facebook, which is just Will Mapley PT.
Nice.
What about you, my friend?
As always, you will find me on Instagram and Facebook as VS Complete Fitness, no spaces, and on YouTube VS Space Complete Space Fitness, because I was allowed spaces on YouTube. I know, pushing that boat out.
Good man.
Yeah, you obviously, if you are listening to the video of this, you can find us on Spotify, and I believe there's a couple of other ones you can find us on, because we use the Anchor app. So I think you can find podcasts on Anchor, but at the same time, we are on Spotify. So the Unorthodox Trainer podcast is on Spotify. Makes it sound proper legit, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Spotify.
Absolutely on Spotify.
Spotify.
Wow.
Good man.
That's
Wow.
it.
There it is.
There
Again,
you go.
episode 6 is complete.
In the bag. Thank you so much for listening as always, and we'll be back next week.
See ya. I just hit those.